afternoon. I get to go last as a plenary or keynote before the exchange students and keep you all awake. I'll do my best. It's been 24 years since I was on a stage at a district conference in Kingston, or in Tasmania rather. The last time was memorable for me because I started the youth exchange presentation. There were 16 of us, and it was in Launceston, and I was on the stage. We had a brilliant idea that we would encircle the room with the light of Rotary. So we each had candles, and my job was to start the circle of flame, or light of Rotary, and I was to take my lit candle and walk over to Cecilia and light her candle, and she would carry the light down the stairs and out into the audience. And things went well until I turned to light Cecilia's candle, and my candle broke and fell onto the floor, and I watched as my flaming candle rolled over to the curtain and promptly lit it on fire. We quickly stomped out the fire and we relit the candles, and Cecilia took the flame out into the audience, and I stood on the stage waiting for it to swallow me whole as I waved away the smoke. There are no open flames anywhere near the stage today. We are safe, I think. But I so appreciate having the chance to come back to Tasmania. If you were here last night, you saw John speak, and he encouraged us all to tell everyone that we appreciate how much we love them. And I do that, but I also think it's important to say thank you. So for 24 years, I have been traveling the United States of America, thanking the great district of 9830, and especially the wonderful Rotarians of Kingston. And it is such a privilege and an honor to be back. Thank you personally, and I'm going to get emotional, but this is why I'm doing it now and not at the end. 25 years ago, you changed my life, and I've been saying thank you all around the United States. I'm so happy to say thank you in person now. So, thank you. So I can't follow anybody else who's done some great speeches. They've already said what I would say, and what I had planned to say. Every time I was speaking to somebody in the audience, or at lunch in the hallways, they all said, well, just tell your story. So I am going to tell my story to you and tell you a little bit about how my Rotary experience taught me to live without limits, and hopefully how you can take that and transition it into your own life and live without limits. My Rotary story started, well, Rotary's always been a part of my life, so I don't know when my Rotary story started. My father was a Rotarian. I'm president of his Rotary Club, my hometown of Bainbridge, New York. Bainbridge is a very small town. Has anybody been there other than the people I'm staying with? Okay, good, so I can make fun of it. It's a population of about 3,000 people and 10,000 cows, and I'm really not joking when I say that. It's a very rural community, about 275 miles northwest of New York City, on the banks of the Susquehanna River. So Rotary is very active in the community. Rotary is the community in Bainbridge. And my father was a Rotarian. We had exchange students stay with us. We had Mariko from Japan, and Susanna from Peru, and Christine from Bolivia. She wanted to know why we didn't have servants. We wanted to know why we didn't have servants. I was always involved with Rotary activities because a lot of Rotarians' families got involved with service projects. I was an Interact student in high school. I was friends with the other exchange students. And when I was 15, former district governor, Dr. Ken Benson, we just call him Doc, came to my house and said, what are you going to do next year? I said, I don't know. And he said, well, have you thought about being an exchange student? I said, well, yeah, I thought about it, of course, but that's all I've really done. And he said, well, why don't you apply? I said, I don't know. He said, what's holding you back? And I said, well, I don't know of any other exchange students with disabilities. And he said, Denise, you've never let that disability stop you from anything in your life. Why are you going to let it stop you now? And I thought about it, and I talked about it with my friends. And somebody at school overheard me talking about it. And they said, you're going to be an exchange student? I thought, well, I don't know, I'm going to apply maybe. I don't know, I'm thinking about it. He said, well, you can't do that. Okay. So here's the one thing you need to know about me. If you want to get me to do something, tell me I can't do it. Because I will prove you wrong, and I will kind of wipe your face in it. Not maliciously, but just because I like to be right. So, I applied that day, and I knew I was going to be an exchange student. And just like the others, maybe. Okay, hold on. It was working earlier. Oh, it's not on. Ha! I'm sorry, I didn't check that first. Should have done that. Okay, just like the other speakers that you heard, I had amazing parents. Sam and Dolly Denoto, my parents. I apologize that these are a little dark quality photos, but you know, I was an exchange student 25 years ago and we didn't have digital film. So, did the best that we could. This was taken 2 days before I left to be an exchange student, but my parents taught me that I could do anything I wanted to do. And told me all of my life that I could do anything I really wanted to do. But when I told them I wanted to apply to be an exchange student, they said, really? Now they didn't tell me no, but they said, well, you have to pay for it yourself. I said, okay. And at the time, the plane fare was roughly gonna cost me about $1,300 American, depending on where I went in the world. Now, mind you, I hadn't been accepted yet. I was just thinking ahead. So I applied to be an exchange student, and I started thinking about how I'd fundraise it, because I was just assuming I was going to be accepted. And District 7170, where I come from, is a very large exchange participant. The year that I went away, there were 140 of us that went to the district interviews, and 74 of us were selected to go outbound. So we knew we had about a 50-50 chance of being selected. So I was picked by my club to go to the district interviews, and I picked France, Japan, Australia, Sweden, and Denmark. Those were the countries I said I'd like to go to, but I didn't really care. Like, they could have sent me to live in Ohio for a year, and I would have been happy because it wasn't Cambridge. Really. And I got accepted. I was really excited. They were originally going to send me to South Africa because they wanted me to be able to speak my native language and explain my help requests in my native language. I thought that was awesome. My mom was not so thrilled because this was 1990 and the end of apartheid, and she wasn't so excited. But again, I thought, well, you know, the beauty of being 16 and naive is that you're 16 and naive. Wherever I was going to go, I was going to live with Rotarians. What could happen? I was going to be fine, right? That was my philosophy. The district really didn't do much towards getting me a placement. And Doc Benson, my friend's family, or my family friend who had encouraged me to be a Rotarian exchange student, he got in touch with the men who had been district governor when he was district governor back in 79 or 80. And Graham Davis, who's a Rotarian in Deloraine, I met his lovely granddaughter, Hannah, where are you? There you are, hello. Graham got in touch with the man who was district governor, John Thorne, and John was the administrator at a school for kids with disabilities at the time, and John reached out to Kingston, to Jerry Verdell, and made an ally with him. And Jerry approached the club and said, we've got an application from this young woman, student with a disability, we think she'd be a great exchange student. Kingston had already accepted an exchange student from Finland, but they thought that they could take another. And so they took it upon themselves to find 4 more host families, pay another tuition, another allowance, and they said, we'll take Denise, with the understanding that whenever Kingston Rotary finds a student with a disability to participate in exchange, Bainbridge will take them, no questions asked, even if the districts aren't exchanging anymore. And Bainbridge said, right on, we'll do that, no problem. So I found out in June of 1990, after a little encouragement from others, that I was coming to Tasmania. I didn't know much about Tasmania. I knew it was an island, but I had no expectations of what I would find down under. I had stereotypes of what I thought I would find down under, and I thought I knew what to expect, but Here's the thing you learn as an exchange student, reality is often not what you expect. It's important to keep an open mind when you're an exchange student. So here's 16-year-old me holding a Tasmanian devil. And when I sent this picture home, my family all said, "What are you holding?" Because they had no expectation of what a real Tasmanian devil looked like. You know, we are Americans, we see the spinning Warner Brothers cartoon, and we have no idea. But you have to keep an open mind as an exchange student, because otherwise you're going to miss an amazing opportunity. And it's not just your exchange program that teaches you to have an open mind. As Rotarians, you're all more open-minded than the average Joe on the street, I would guess, because you have exposure to international projects. You have exposure to other opportunities for learning and cultural exchange. Your history is never going to be the same reality that you find, and that's okay, because if you have an open mind and you think about how you might be able to incorporate what you're learning with what you already know, you're going to grow as a person. I learned lessons about home when I was an exchange student. This is not my home. It was my home for 3 months in Tasmania with a beautiful view over the Derwent River. I had no view of water in Bainbridge. I looked out and saw maple trees and the railroad tracks and hills, and every house I lived in had water views. I mean, I thought I was the luckiest person in the world, because I would just sit there and look out over the water and write in my journal, and what an amazing, beautiful state you have. Now, I have a beautiful state too. I'm biased, perhaps. But when you travel, you learn that home is not always just where you were born. Home can be wherever you find friends and family. Friends, and friends are family that you make for yourself. And you can make those connections anywhere in the world that you go to if you let yourself. Friends come in all shapes and sizes. I mentioned Hannah, the other student that Kingston hosted. Hannah was from Finland, and Hannah was part of my tribe. As an exchange student, of course, I gravitated towards other exchange students. They were the people that understood me. They were my peers. I gravitate towards other people with disabilities. They are my peers. I know their experiences. We may not have the same experience, but we share commonalities. It's important to find your tribe. When you find your tribe, you know that you have a connection with somebody. Rotarians are part of my tribe. I always have fun when I'm with Rotarians. This is no exception, let me tell you. As natural as it is to find your tribe, you grow from that connection with your tribe. It's so important to seek other people beyond your tribe. You won't grow unless you make those connections with people who don't talk like you, who don't think the same way you do, who live a little differently than you do. I mean, that's how we grow. That's how we learn. So it's important to keep yourself grounded with those people who are in your tribe, but then you have to challenge yourself to go outside of your tribe and look for somebody who's going to help you grow. When I heard the conference theme of living without limits, I thought, well, how am I living without limits? I'm not a Paralympian. I'm not running anything. I'm certainly not going to get up and exercise. Like, even, I know I could, but that's just not me. I'm not curing any diseases. I'm getting up, I'm going to work, I'm serving in my community, and I'm going home. And apparently that's remarkable because I happen to be doing it from a wheelchair, and I appreciate the thought process that goes into that. But you know, it's really hard for me to think about that as inspirational or different because it's just always the life that I've lived. And I've had discussions with my cousin Kelly, who's helping me, thank you Kelly, this past 2 weeks. What's inspirational to me is not necessarily what's inspirational to you, and isn't that a good thing? If we were all inspired by the same thing, that would really be boring. What I find inspirational are the people who live authentically, who are open and honest with themselves and with other people, who say, I need to have that over there, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to make that happen. The people who say, you know, this is what I'm passionate about, and I'm going to do everything I can to pursue it. That's what it